You're not ready for what's coming. I don't care how many cans you've got in the pantry or how tactical your flashlight is. If you leave the wrong thing visible during a blackout, you become a target. Fast. Over 74% of Americans live in metro areas. That's over 240 million people stacked into cities and suburbs, completely dependent on a fragile grid that fails more often every year. In 2023 alone, the U.S. experienced more than 470 reported blackouts, and that's not counting cyber attacks, EMP threats, or rolling shutdowns from overloaded systems. And here's the terrifying part. When the power goes out for more than 48 hours, crime spikes by 130%, according to DHS disaster response data. People stop thinking rationally. They don't ask politely, they take. And what they're looking for isn't just food. It's anything that tells them you're doing better than they are. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 8 things you should never leave visible during a blackout. These aren't guesses. These are real-world triggers for home invasions, looting, and targeted violence, based on what actually happened in Katrina, Texas, Puerto Rico, and post-disaster zones around the world. Let's start with number 8, because if you think it's something obvious, you're already exposed. 8. Trash. Yes, your garbage could get you killed. You want to know what looters look at before they break into a house. They don't check the front door. They check the garbage pile. And if your trash tells the wrong story, you're toast. Think that sounds paranoid? Let me explain. After Hurricane Sandy, certain Brooklyn neighborhoods were specifically targeted based on what was in their trash. Empty battery packages, food wrappers from freeze-dried meals, used hygiene supplies. It all screams, there's more where that came from. One guy told me he got robbed twice. First for supplies, then again when someone saw a discarded wrapper or an MRE and realized he was holding out. The same principle applied in Argentina during their 2001 collapse. People weren't just raiding homes, they were raiding dumpsters. If they saw signs of recent consumption, new packaging, broken tools, ripped open ration boxes, they knew you had value. And here in the U.S., we're no better. Our trash habits are predictable and revealing. Cardboard box from Amazon with Goal Zero printed on it. Now the looters know you've got solar gear. Empty water filters, you've got filtration. Battery clamshells, you've got power. You might as well send out a press release. So here's what to do. First, burn what you can, safely, in a backyard pit or improvised barrel with a tight cover. No open flames if you're in an urban area. Use dry material and keep smoke low. Second, bury the rest. Not deep, just enough to hide the scent and sight. Composting isn't just green, it's tactical. Third, keep all packaging before the blackout. Pre-stage your supplies in unmarked bags or bins. That way you're not chucking giveaway trash when things go south. And if you have to toss something, do it far from your property. The biggest lesson in a blackout: trash talks. And what it says could get your door kicked in. 7. Pet supplies, because Fido will give you away. Here's a hard truth most preppers don't want to hear. Your pets can make you a target, not just because they bark or whine, but because what you keep to care for them tells people you're still flush with supplies. Dog food, cat litter, treats, chew toys. That stuff's not just fluff. It's an indirect measure of how well you're doing. In collapsed economies like post-2008 Greece, shelters were overwhelmed because people couldn't afford to feed their animals anymore. So if you've got visible pet supplies during a blackout, you're signaling that you're not desperate, that you're so prepared, you can even care for your Labrador. And in a starving neighborhood, that's social suicide. Let me paint you a picture. It's day 12 of a blackout in Ohio. You haven't had grid power in almost 2 weeks. The water stopped 4 days ago. But someone walks past your backyard and sees a shiny new bag of Purina, neatly stacked by the shed. Maybe they hear you calling your cat. Or worse, they see a bowl of fresh water out back. Guess what? Now you're not just a guy with a pet. You're the guy with extra food and clean water, enough to spare. And that means you're a source. To a desperate father, you're a lifeline. To an opportunist, you're a mark. So here's how you handle it. 1. No visibility. Pet food goes in plain containers tucked into the same bins you'd use for your own rations. No bright bags, no labeled cans. 2. Ration smart. Pets can go lean too. Reduce feed amounts, but don't let them beg at windows or doors. That visual, that kills you. 3. Control noise. Dogs bark. It's what they do. But during a blackout, that sound is like sonar. It says someone's home and they're still feeding animals. Train your dog to be quiet on command. Use crates. Use comfort gear. And finally, no public walks. No one needs to know you still have kibble. In a collapse, pets become liabilities, not because of what they do, but because of what they reveal about you. 6. Medical supplies, because first aid is more valuable than gold. Everyone loves to stockpile Band-Aids and ibuprofen until they realize that a single box of gauze becomes a life or death asset when the ER's closed. 911 doesn't answer and every pharmacy has been looted. Here's the brutal truth. In a blackout lasting longer than 3 days, basic medical care disappears. That chest cold, it becomes pneumonia. That infected splinter, now it's a race against sepsis. So your stash of antiseptics, antibiotics, wraps, slings, even cough syrup, that becomes priceless and dangerous. Why? Because people will come for it. Case in point, after Hurricane Harvey, multiple shelters in Texas reported theft of first aid kits by other evacuees. Not food, not water, first aid. In New Orleans after Katrina, pharmacists found themselves holding the line with firearms as looters tried to ransack painkillers, inhalers, insulin. Even in a controlled disaster response, medical panic trumps hunger. And the average American household, grossly underprepared. The CDC estimates fewer than 10% of homes have more than 3 days' worth of medical supplies. And that stat includes things like aspirin and bandages. So if you're the one with antibiotic ointment and an unopened box of surgical gloves, you're holding the modern equivalent of medieval medicine in the Dark Ages. Here's what you do. 1. Disguise and disperse. Don't store your kits in the medicine cabinet. That's the first place anyone will check. Keep smaller kits hidden in kitchen drawers labeled old recipes or extra keys. Store main supplies in lockable toolboxes or inside bins marked holiday lights. 2. Decoys. Leave out a half-used box of Tylenol, a dusty old first aid kit with expired supplies. Let any intruder think that's all you had. 3rd, barter carefully. Medical supplies can trade for huge value, but the moment word gets out you have antibiotics, you're now a potential resource hub, and hubs get surrounded. Last point, digital prescriptions will vanish in a blackout. Keep paper copies of your meds. If you're insulin dependent, you better have a cooling strategy. And whatever you do, don't post pics of your home clinic online now. People remember, people screenshot. And in collapse scenarios, the guy who looked prepared months ago becomes the target with morphine. 5. Lighting. Yes, light, because in the dark, it's a siren. Most people think flashlights and lanterns are harmless. Oh, it's just a little LED lamp, what's the big deal? Here's the deal. In a world gone dark, even the faintest glow is a broadcast signal that screams, I have power. After Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico residents told stories of entire neighborhoods going dark by 6 p.m., except for 1 or 2 windows still glowing. Guess who got visitors? Not friends, strangers. People knocking at midnight asking, just for a quick charge, or a little help. At best they ask, at worst they take. Here in America, our dependency on light is absolute. 85% of U.S. homes use electric lighting as their only nighttime illumination. When that's gone, people panic. Visibility drops. Fear sets in. And any light becomes magnetic. In 2003, during the Northeast blackout, looters used flashlights to identify homes that had backup power, then tracked the source using binoculars. Some people were targeted just for having solar garden lights still glowing on their lawn. So how do you stay invisible while still seeing what you're doing? First, blackout curtains. I'm talking thick dark fabric or doubled up tarps. No gaps, no silhouettes. Second, light discipline. Only use red LED lights at night. Military trick. They preserve your night vision and are much harder to see from a distance. Third, interior only. No porch lights, no windows glowing. You want to read after dark? Do it in a closet, seriously. Keep light sources low, enclosed and facing walls. Reflective surfaces like mirrors or stainless appliances, cover them. You'd be shocked how far one beam can bounce. Bonus tactic? Use decoy lights. Set up a busted lantern on your porch with a dead battery and some soot. Let it look like you tried and failed like everyone else. Meanwhile, your real lighting is hidden inside a box lined with black fabric. Used only when doors are locked and all vents are covered. You think you'll get by with just candles? Wrong. Candles smell, candles flicker, and candles scream someone's home. In total collapse, light is not comfort. It's a compromise. So unless you want to be the glowing beacon in a sea of desperation, hide your light, or lose everything. 4. Kids' toys, diapers, and baby supplies. Because children reveal you're stable. Let's talk about something that nobody includes in their prepping list. But every looter, every desperate neighbor, every panicked parent is watching for. Baby gear. Yup. Diapers, formula, toddler snacks, even old strollers. These things scream one thing: I have enough to care for a child. And in a long blackout, that means you're doing better than most. Here's what you're not hearing in mainstream prepping circles. During disasters, the presence of children doesn't make you more sympathetic. It makes you more visible. In the 2010 Haitian earthquake aftermath, families with visible children were more frequently targeted for resource raids, not because of cruelty, but because people believed they must have something. UNICEF reported similar patterns in Syria's collapse zones. Families with baby items were pressured into sharing, or worse, robbed for baby food and medical kits. Now apply this to America. Nearly half of American families live paycheck to paycheck. Diapers cost upwards of $80 a month per child. Formula: shortages across multiple states in 2022. You remember that, right? Shelves wiped out. Desperate parents crying on TikTok. Now imagine a blackout. No trucks, no restocks, no EBT payments, and someone sees you carrying a diaper bag. They don't just see a parent. They see a prepper with surplus. So how do you fix this? 1. Camouflage everything. Use generic tote bags instead of diaper bags. Peel off formula labels and repackage into dry good containers. Baby wipes. Rebag them into Ziplocs. 2. No visible toys in yards or windows. A single tricycle can tell a raider your situation before they even step on your lawn. 3. Hide your kids' presents at night. No lullabies on a radio. No cartoons on a screen. Noise travels. A baby crying doesn't elicit sympathy. It signals vulnerability. And vulnerability draws wolves. You also need emergency kid gear hidden from guests. That includes kid-safe meds, clothes, comfort items. Do not show your full hand. And never discuss your backup formula stash, even with neighbors who have kids. That sounds cold. But in collapse scenarios, cold is survival. Because when people are starving, they don't just steal from adults. They justify stealing from children, telling themselves they're doing it for their own kid. Hide your diapers, hide your toys. And for the love of God, don't let your child be the reason your home gets targeted. 3. Visible food storage. The fastest way to become a magnet for desperation. You think it's enough to just have food. No. If anyone sees that food, smells it, or even suspects you've got more than a couple days' worth, you're done. In a blackout, when refrigerators die and grocery stores empty out, food becomes the single greatest point of conflict. And here's what most Americans don't understand. It's not about what you eat. It's about what they think you're hiding. During the 2021 Texas freeze, multiple households that posted videos of themselves cooking or showcasing their pantries were later broken into. Not even kidding. Thieves watched social media for clues, tracked locations, and targeted homes that still looked fed. In places like Venezuela and Lebanon, where blackouts became the norm, looters weren't just looking for jewelry or cash. They were specifically raiding kitchens. In fact, UN aid workers reported that food visibility was the #1 reason families were robbed in remote towns. And when you think about it, it makes sense. People can survive weeks without electricity, but not without calories. So if you've got shelves full of canned chili, vacuum-sealed pasta, MREs, or powdered milk, here's what you need to do right now. Move it. Stop storing your supplies in obvious places like pantries and kitchen cupboards. Use non-food labeled containers. Hide cans inside pet food bins. Store boxed goods behind cleaning supplies or fake moving boxes. Better yet, divide your supply into tiers. Keep a decoy stash of beat-up dusty cans in the pantry and hide your real reserves in a locked disguised closet or sealed under floorboards. And here's the real kicker: smell. Smell is a giveaway. You cook rice and beans while everyone else is going hungry. That scent will travel down the street like a blood trail. Use pressure cookers. Vent your kitchen with blackout fans. Burn incense if you have to. Because once someone smells meat or warm bread in week 2 of a blackout, you're not feeding your family. You're feeding rumors. And rumors in collapse scenarios get you visited, or worse. 2. Weapons. Especially ones left where people can see them. Let me hit you with a gut punch. Your gun might get you killed. Not because you don't know how to use it, but because if people see it, they'll either come prepared to challenge you or they'll wait until you're not around and take it when you're most vulnerable. In a blackout, a visible weapon doesn't always say, "I'm protected." Sometimes it says, "I've got something worth protecting, and if you want it, come heavy." You don't have to look far for examples. During the Ferguson unrest in 2014, armed homeowners stood on rooftops. You know what happened. Some deterred looters. Others got targeted by coordinated groups who came back later. Fast forward to Kenosha in 2020. People carrying openly were followed, photographed, and in some cases later doxxed. In collapse zones like South Africa or post-Katrina New Orleans, weapons were the first thing looters tried to steal, not avoid. Why? Because they knew possession meant power. In America, we love our Second Amendment, but in a blackout, you need to think like a guerrilla, not a weekend range shooter. That means concealment over display, redundancy over bravado. If someone sees a shotgun in your front window, they don't say, "He's safe." They think, "He's got ammo, food, maybe more." Your visible AR-15 becomes an invitation to plan an ambush. So here's how you play it smart. 1. Never display weapons externally. Not in windows, not on your hip unless you're actively in a hostile situation. 2. Hide weapons in multiple access points. Under floor vents, inside fake HVAC covers, behind insulation panels. If your home is breached, you need fallback arms in reachable spots. 3. No gun stickers, flags, or decals. The bumper sticker that says "Proud Gun Owner" might as well say "Break into this house second, not first." Bonus tip: don't talk about your firearms now. Not on social media, not to coworkers, not even to family friends. Because when the lights go out, people remember. Didn't John have a few rifles in his safe? Now you're on a list. And in a lawless America, lists become maps to treasure. 1. Your generator. If they see it, they'll take everything. This is it. The holy grail of blackout targets. The #1 item that gets stolen, fought over, and literally killed for in every major disaster of the last 30 years. Your generator. If it's loud, visible, or running when everyone else is in the dark, you're not just a target. You're ground zero for conflict. Let's be very clear. In 2020, during Hurricane Laura in Louisiana, generator thefts spiked 600% in less than a week. Police issued emergency bulletins asking people to shut them off at night. In Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, FEMA reports show entire trucks of generators were stolen before delivery. During the California rolling blackouts of 2019, people chained them to their cars, slept next to them, and still got robbed. And in every single case, once one household was known to have a generator, word spread like wildfire. But here's what most people don't realize. You don't have to show the generator itself. Just the sound. Just the hum. Just the fact that your fridge is still cold or your house has a fan on. That's enough. Desperate neighbors will start asking questions. Then come the knocks. Then come the visits. And once things get bad enough, they stop asking. So here's what you need to do. First, get quiet. Ditch that loud 5,000-watt gas guzzler and invest in a whisper-quiet inverter generator, or better yet, a solar battery bank. Second, soundproof your setup. I built a wooden enclosure lined with insulation foam and weather stripping. It reduced the decibel level by 60%. Third, hide your power usage. That means blackout curtains, no porch lights, and no humming AC units. You run that thing only when no one's around, or in short bursts behind closed garage doors. Final tactic: fake failure. Set up a broken generator outside. Let it look like you tried, like everyone else. A rusted frame, some chewed wires, a few oil stains. That buys you credibility as someone who wants power but doesn't have it. And that is survival camouflage. Because in the end, a generator isn't just a machine. It's a beacon, a flag, a flare in the night that says, "I am prepared and I am alone." And in the new rules of a collapsed America, that's all it takes to bring the wolves to your door. If they can see it, they can take it. Blackouts don't just kill the lights, they kill the rules. And in that darkness, everything visible becomes vulnerable. You've got one job when the grid fails: disappear. Because in collapse scenarios, it's not the loudest or the strongest who survive, it's the invisible. Stay dark, stay quiet, stay untraceable, or be the one they remember and come back for.